I'm a real stinker. That's a lot of pages. I need to. Hi friends, and welcome back to another TBR video. My name is Lena, and this is where I talk about books and life, but mostly books. And today I want to talk about all of the books that are still on my TBR for winter, for the cold hibernation season, where I love to just be inside, cuddled up with a book, and just restoring myself until the ground thaws again. And reading books is one of my favorite ways to do that. I'm gonna be going through all of the books that I hope to read this season that are not Christmas. So winter books that have nothing to do with the holidays. Or they may be books that maybe don't take place in winter exclusively, but have a lot of winter scenes in them. I've got my, well, what seems like it might be a warm cup of something, but it's actually orange Hi-C because we just got back from the movies. We just went to see Godzilla -1, and it was fantastic. It was incredible. If you haven't seen it yet, please go do that right now. So amazing. I thought if I put it in a mug, it might seem cozy, so that's what we're doing here. So here we go. I'm gonna start off with my first book, which is one that I actually just read before Christmas because I was not having any luck with the holiday romances, and so I thought that this might be a fun little take. It is The Kingdom of Sweets. I got it through Book of the Month last month. It is like a retelling of The Nutcracker told from, or like revolving around, Natasha, Clara's dark twin. I still am undecided about how I feel about this book because I'm just not sure I understand what the purpose of the story was, and I think that I'm a real stinker when it comes to retellings because this happens every time. I read a retelling and I'm like, but like, why not just read the original? What was the point of this whole thing? And like, so I don't think I understand what retellings are about. So if you are a person who loves a retelling, please let me know what I'm supposed to get out of them, because another retelling that I've had on my TBR for such a long time is Our Hideous Progeny, and I'm afraid to read it because Frankenstein is one of my favorite novels of all time, and so I'm afraid to read this because I don't want it to make me mad. What are your thoughts on retellings? Let me know. I would love to hear it. Just turn this down. This is too bright. Is that better? Maybe? We'll just find out when we're editing, I guess. So on the note of classics, books that I would love to read this winter, I know that I won't be able to read all 3 of these because that's a lot of pages, but books that make me think of wintertime, first and foremost, is Little Women. This has been on my life goals list for a very long time. I've wanted to read the book for many, many years. I grew up watching the Winona Ryder, Susan Sarandon film with my mom. Every Christmas we would watch it, and so I already think about winter a lot when I think about Little Women, and I really just want to know the story inside and out because every time you see a film adaptation of it, there's like a very different telling of the story, and so I really want to know the source material truly. Yeah. And a few years ago, before COVID, my husband and I, before we were married, got to be in Little Women together. I played Jo and he played Laurie, and it was such an incredible experience getting to know those characters in that way. And I just have such an affection for all of the characters in the story, and I really want to read the novel and know it for its true self. And this edition is special to me. It's the Clothbound Penguins edition, but several years ago my Uncle Bob passed away, but before he did, the last Christmas that he was here, he gave me a gift card to Barnes & Noble, and I would never use it because I'm just very sentimental, and I didn't want it to be gone unless it was something that I knew I was really gonna love. I didn't want to just buy a random book that I didn't end up caring about, so I knew I wanted to buy something that I would really, really cherish, and so I bought this edition of Little Women, and it's just been on my shelf waiting for me to read it for a long time. So yeah, I am really excited about this one, and I think that this will probably be what I start with. But other wintry classics that I would love to read this winter, if time allows, and mothering allows, you know, Anna Karenina and Les Mis. Les Mis is huge. This book is so big, but my mom and I always talk about reading it together. There is obviously a lot of cold wintry things in Les Mis, but like this is a big undertaking. My mom has attempted reading it a couple times in her life and hasn't gotten through it, and so we want to read it together, but it's a big thing to tackle, so we have to make sure that we're both in the right mindset and ready to do this thing. So that is a classic that I would love. I need to. Another one that I'm really surprised that I haven't gotten to yet is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. This is a trilogy. I believe I only have the first one right now. Yeah, I got this at my used bookstore. I should go back and see if he has the other ones in stock yet. But it is a story that follows a hockey team. And I love Fredrik Backman. He just really creates characters that I feel so connected to. I have not read anything by him that I haven't enjoyed. And I think I've read at this point maybe 4 of his books, so I'm ready to follow this little small town hockey team's dreams to victory, maybe. A tiny community deep in the forest, Beartown hasn't been the best at anything in a long time, but down by the lake stands an old ice rink, and in that ice rink, Kevin, Amat, Benji, and the rest of the town's junior ice hockey team are about to compete in the national semifinals, and they actually have a shot at winning. All the hopes and dreams of this place now rest on the shoulders of a handful of teenage boys. Sounds wonderful. And my whole life I've kind of been really sports adjacent. I don't really play sports, but I have a lot of family members who play sports, and I have a big family that loves to watch sports. So this sports adjacent story I think will feel very homey and comforting for me this winter. Next book that has been on my shelf for a couple of years now is Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. It says, in a remote Polish village, Janina devotes the dark winter days to studying astrology, translating the poetry of William Blake, and taking care of the summer homes of wealthy Warsaw residents. Her reputation as a crank and a recluse is only amplified by her not-so-secret preference for the company of animals over humans. Then a neighbor, Bigfoot, turns up dead. Soon other bodies are discovered in increasingly strange circumstances. I'm gonna stop there because I don't want anything to be spoiled for me. I'm gonna leave it there. But I know, I think maybe 2 years ago, I saw Allie from Allison Pages say that she had read this book and loved it. And it's just a book that I don't hear people talk about very often, but I just came across it at my local bookstore a few years ago. I wanted to get it and read it, but I've been saving it for winter time, and yeah, I didn't get to it the last winter or two, so here we are. This is one that I see on a lot of people's lists come up, but Snow and Rose. And this one has like many beautiful illustrations throughout, and so I am very excited about this one. Emily Winfield Martin, I love anything that she's illustrated, and this is a middle grade. There's a bear on the back. I love it. Snow and Rose didn't know they were living in a fairy tale. People never do. So, yeah, I think that this one will be really wonderful for winter. At least it gives me winter feelings. I think it's wintry, or am I just saying that because her name is Snow? This book is just so beautiful. I think this is a winter scene, so these wolves running through like the snowy forest. It's just another one that, like, you know, I've been waiting for it to be winter time, but I'm also very much of a mood reader, so I tend to struggle with TBRs. It helps me to have a TBR because when I'm feeling really overwhelmed by choices, I've got stuff to pull from, but I'm also kind of always held in a chokehold by my Libby app and will be reading and listening to whatever they say is available to me. So that's my reality. The Forest of Wool and Steel, which is a Japanese translated fiction. And this is one that, was it Christy Ann Jones, I think, had mentioned it a long time ago, I feel like. But when you look at the cover, it just looks so like wintry and perfect. It says, set in small town Japan, this warm and mystical story is for the lucky few who have found their calling and for the rest of us who are still looking. It shows that the search for purpose in life is a winding path, one filled with treacherous doubts, and for those who persevere, astonishing revelations. Yeah, so I'm definitely ready for like a hopeful story of overcoming any kind of adversity that life has thrown your way. And there's like a music connection with this one because I think the young boy is like hearing the sound of, I think he hears like someone tuning a piano and like goes to follow it, and then he's like kind of transported into a dream world of some sort, I think, seeps into his soul and transports him to the forest, dark and gleaming, that surround his beloved mountain village. At that moment, he becomes determined to discover more. This one I have brought up before, but it is Dead Voices by Katherine Arden, and this is in the, yes, from the Small Spaces Quartet. And this one I know takes place in winter. You can tell by looking at that winter cabin on the cover. And I really enjoyed the first one. This is another middle grade one, so I have to be in like a very specific mood to read and enjoy middle grade, but I'm sure the time will come. And I think it's like very ghosty, so that one I think will be very fun. And then the last one is one that I actually got earlier today at my used bookstore. We had plans this afternoon and I told Topher that I wanted to just stop really quickly at the used bookstore just to see if anything came up that I might want to read. And I found a copy of Misery by Stephen King, which I have never read. I'm very afraid of this story because the scariest stories to me are humans hurting other humans. Like that is just, I just really struggle with it. So if I'm like looking for fun, like I'm looking for like a creature feature, not like terrifying things like this, but I still, like, I know it's very wintry, and I think that maybe I've gotten to the point where I'm ready to take this on. And I just really loved the cover of this edition. I think it's from the 1980s. Yeah. That's on my list. Oh, another book that takes place in winter that I want to read, that I do not have in my possession yet, but I think my hold is coming up at the library, is Unlikely Animals. So I'm gonna put the cover right here. I don't remember what it is about, but the cover is filled with foxes and a dog. So I'm like, yeah, sign me up. And I know that it takes place in winter. I know when I read about like the synopsis of it, that it sounded really wintry. So that alone, I feel like is enough that I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna read this. And whenever Remarkably Bright Creatures is recommended, or they're like, if you like Remarkably Bright Creatures, you should read Unlikely Animals. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I absolutely will do that because that sounds wonderful. There are other horror books on my list, but I'm thinking I will read them for Winterween. So later this week, I will do another video that is my Winterween readathon TBR for all of the prompts there. But these are just kind of like my winter anytime, not just Winterween reading list. So yeah, if you have read any of these books and loved them, please comment below and share. Or if there are books that you think are so perfect for winter and they just aren't on my list for whatever reason, then please share below because I would love to add them to my list and read them. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I'll hopefully be doing some more reading vlogs here soon. And yeah, looking forward to catching up with all of you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!